Hari Om, Nana. You can unmute and start, Nana.
Okay, right. Om. 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 Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadusham Tattvamasyaadilakhyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Shruti Smruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyama Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. Brahmara, the PDF.
Nana, before we start, we had some few questions regarding the last 2 days.
Regarding which one?
One is, let me increase my volume. One is regarding the mantras. In towards the end of the 18th chapter that we read, there were 4 different kinds of mantras. One is you chant it aloud, then the other one is you chant it just with your lips, and the other one is manasika. So we thought maybe if you could throw some light on that, what kind of mantras to be chanted and what is the, of course, it was mentioned that the best form of mantra is to do it mentally, because when you're doing it physically and orally, there is a chance for the mind to get distracted here and there.
The best thing is, the best way of japa. All these mantras are for japa yoga.
Right.
Okay. The best thing is you chant internally. Okay. No lip movement, no vocal cords movement. It is a manasika yajna, japa yajna. That is considered the best. Almost the same thing was mentioned by Ramana Maharshi in the Upadesha Saram, I think. Yeah, next.
So even Bhagavad Gita, when we're chanting, it is ideal that we chant inside, mind the mind.
No. Mantra is different from Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a scripture, whereas mantra, mananat trayate iti mantraha. Bhagavad Gita is a scripture. You are required to chant that without any blemish, without any error, and Kitaya will be very, very pleased if what he has said, his words are being reproduced with absolute fidelity. Okay, this is different. Bhagavad Gita is different. If you treat Bhagavad Gita like that, nobody will be benefited at all. Okay, only you will be benefited, kind of, perhaps.
Right.
Perhaps. There's no listener at all. Gita, Sugita. It is Gita. What is sung? Gita, Sugita, Kartavya. That is required to be chanted. Yeah, next.
Okay.
Mm.
Dr. Renu is saying, should we use mala during mantra chanting?
What is that?
Should we use the mala, 108 mala, during mantra chanting?
Yeah, it is up to you. If you think you are being very, very attentive, you can dispense with the mala. If you are in the habit of getting distracted, mala will help. Because the crown of the mala, when you come to that, you will know it is either 50 or that 54 or 58 mantras you have done. If you are distracted, the mala, the beat does not go forward. When it does not go forward, you will realize that you are distracted. It depends on your attentive nature. Next.
I think that's it about the questions.
Okay.
Unless anybody else has any other question.
Okay. Now we have to go to page number 12.
Page number 12. But
and the prayer.
Correct.
Prayer.
It's about the prayer. You remember very well.
This is correct. Prayer is always for one's own sake.
Should we
One's
read?
own sake.
Yeah.
And another thing, you have come up with a lot of questions on the mantra. Okay. More than the mantra is the contemplation of the scriptural truths. That is more beneficial. Don't get stuck with just of mantras.
No, we wanted some clarification. That's all. It's
Okay.
not like
no. What see the Purushadha. Purushadha Nishchaya is required. What do you want? What is it that you are picking? What is it you are going to conform to all the time? Is it the mantra or the contemplation on these scriptural vakyas? Which do you think is going to be beneficial? What is going to be tavahitardham? That is the one which will dictate what you want to choose. Like Swamiji says all the time, kartum shakyam, akartum shakyam, anyadhava kartum shakyam. Okay, kartum shakyam. The manana japa kartum shakyam. Akartum shakyam, you need not do. Perhaps you can skip. Anyadhava kartum shakyam. Contemplation of a higher order is also possible for you to choose. You choose what you want, what you think is going to be a blessing to you.
correct.
Because the development of the mind with a view to understanding the truths of the higher will be possible only through contemplation. Yes or no? Yeah.
Yes.
Now, prayer is always for one's own sake.
Should we read one more para before this, before coming here?
Okay. Supposing you say, yeah, will that do? Or, yeah.
Just this one.
Yeah. Why do I seek out securities and pleasures? Is karma for one's sake? Is it for the sake of pleasure? Is it just for fun? If so, then with it or without it, you are the same. You go for it just because you go for it. In other words, it's nothing more than a fancy. But is this really the case? Or artha and kama, which we are seeking in life for their own sake, or are they for myself? The Veda says that every object of my desire is for my sake alone. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. We only desire that which we know. This Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati is from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Rishi Yajnavalkya telling his wife Maitreyi that Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. We only desire that which we know. No one can desire an object that is unknown to him or her. None of you has a desire for Gagabugan, for instance. An unknown Gagabugan cannot be an object of desire. In fact, there is no such thing as Gagabugan. No amount of coaxing will cause you to get into your car and go to buy Gagabugan. But you always have a reason for getting into your car. Some desire is always being fulfilled. Thus, an unknown object does not become an object of desire. This includes moksha also. Unless you have some kind of intrinsic knowledge of what is moksha, which you are perhaps now missing, you will not be desiring for that. You will moksho me bhuyat iti aham ichuho, even that icha will not be there. Okay? You want to get rid of sorrow, even that icha will not be there. Why do you want to get rid of sorrow? Sorrow is okay. You enjoy sorrow. Why do you want to get rid of sorrow? Because you want to be an Anandi all the time. Why do you want to be an Anandi all the time? Unless you have been an Anandi earlier, which you have forgotten. And what you have known earlier, only that you can desire. That is in respect of even moksha. Only known objects become objects of desires. There are, of course, some known objects for which I do not have a desire. Scorpions, cancer, etc., for example. In fact, the more I know of such objects, the more I want to be rid of them. Also, even that is a desire, you see. It's a desire to get rid of them is a kind of a dvesha. It's a kind of a desire. Also, an object that has been known and loved by me need not always be desirable to me. I may have no desire for it whatsoever a few years down the road. No one performs an action or undertakes a course of action without an end in view. Whether the end is right or not can only be discovered later. One may change one's view or give it up altogether for a variety of reasons. We have all done this. But what is desirable now, I will definitely seek out. Therefore, one who desires a particular end, any artha or kama, does so for his own or her own sake. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Supposing you say, no, Swamiji, it's not for my sake. It is for the sake of my son. This only means that your me has become a little extended, but it always reduces to me. Your me can extend to the community in which you live, to your religion, and to your nation also. It is your ego, an extended ego, and the more extensions, the healthier the ego. Still, the end is always for you, for your sake alone. See, this is for my, not for my sake, for the sake of my son. That is what the Father has said. But what happens? Why are you desiring for the sake of your son? Unless your son is happy, you are unhappy. If the son is happy, you are happy. So for your happiness, you want to render your son happy. So that is a kind of a transferred desire. Transferred to the son. You are taking shelter behind your love for the son. It is indeed the love for you, love for happiness for you. You indeed have the desire to please your son, not for anything else. This has been very, very amply proclaimed by Yajnavalkya to Maitreyi in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. There is an entire para before that Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. There is a huge para by Yajnavalkya. Hey, if you think you love me, don't mistake yourself. You do not love me, because without loving me, you will be unhappy. For your happiness, you tend to love me. Same thing is extended to the sun. You love the son, you love the daughter, and you take care of them, their well-being, their welfare. Why? If they are unwell, you are unhappy. You do not want to be unhappy. For your happiness, you will do anything else. Atman has to come like that. He keeps on giving so many examples. Atman has to kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. And tells Maitri also, if I love you, it's not for the sake of you, I love you. It is for my sake I love you, because it gives me a lot of happiness. By loving you, it renders my system, my mental system happy. And I want to continue that kind of a mental stature. That is why I love you. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam. What a beautiful analysis. These are the things to be contemplated upon. Not so much the mantras. We should not get stuck with things which perhaps can be dispensed with. We must choose such those which are going to be very fruitful to us. Okay? Prayer is always for one's own sake. Even if you offer a prayer, for whose sake is the prayer? For God's sake. Is God in such a difficulty that you have to pray for him also? If God requires our prayers in order to survive, then to whom should I pray? If you are praying to God for God's sake, then for God's sake, please give it up. When one says for God's sake, it is only an expression. You do not do anything for God's sake. It also often said that one should serve God. Is it that God has too much of work to do and therefore needs your help? Of course not. Your service and your prayer is for your sake alone. There is nothing wrong with that. If you pray for your mother, father, children, humanity, and all living beings, you do so because you can only be happy if others are happy. How can you be happy if everyone else is unhappy? We see this in games, for instance. In tennis, you always start with love. That is, love means love all. The first score is love all before the first ever service is made by any player. It is love all. Okay? Then some 15-0, then 30-0, 45-0, then game. In between some deuce, etc. In tennis, you always start with love. This, what I am saying is, people who have either watched tennis or they have played tennis, they have interest in tennis, they will understand that easily. In tennis, you always start with love, like marriage, and then fight to the bitter end. Fight to the fight to the bitter end. One person wins and the other loses. The one who wins throws his or her racket into the air and says, "Wonderful, I won." Whereas the one who loses never throws his or her racket into the air, although it may be thrown to the ground in a gesture of defeat. And when the winner approaches the net, still ecstatic and gasping for breath to shake hands with the loser, the elation subsides a little, because every human heart knows what it is to be on the other side. Thus, when others are unhappy, you cannot be happy. Your opponent you have defeated, but you have been on the side of the opponent a number of times. It's not as though as a tennis player you have never lost a match. You have been on the losing side also, and you have been unhappy. Now you have a feeling for the unhappy opponent. Desiring arthas and kamas, then I make certain efforts, and if these efforts do not seem to be enough, I make another effort called prayer. Prayer is not neither an artha nor a kama. It is dharma. Through prayer, you want to gain some invisible result, which will give you artha and kama. Although spiritual seekers do not pray for artha and kama, they do pray for knowledge and maturity, which again is for one's own sake alone. This aspect of the human personality is very important, and it is basic to the vision of Vedanta. When you know that whatever you do is for your own sake, everything becomes meaningful. You find that what you do has its place and everything falls into place. Nothing is more efficacious than anything else. No one action is more important than another. Each action becomes important in its own sphere and is meant for producing its own result. That is why in the 18th chapter, what is that verse? Swakarmana tamabhyatya siddhim vindati manavaha. No matter what kind of a swakarma is that you have to undertake all the time, even though sadoshamapi natyajet, shreyan swadharmo vigunaha, paradharmatsu anushtitat, swadharme nidhanam shreyaha, paradharmo bhayavaha. All those things are mentioned because of that. Can we say that the ears are better than the eyes? Or yeah, each action becomes important in its own sphere and is meant for producing its own result. Can we say that the ears are better than the eyes or that the eyes are better than the ears? No, we require both. If I see you shouting at me but cannot hear what you are shouting, I cannot respond to you properly. Eyes have their own sphere, as do the ears. Similarly, each organ, the kidney, liver, heart, lung, and so on, has its own sphere, each one as important as any of the others. But in order for everything to fall into its place, the starting point must be proper. Here, the proper starting point is knowing that any action I perform is always for a given end, and that end is for my own sake alone. Vedanta takes this statement one step further to cover certain important relationships. A wife is dear to her husband, not for her sake, but for his sake. Similarly, the husband becomes dear to his wife for her sake, not for the sake of the husband. If I understand that everything I do is for my own sake alone, then even my relationships would be very, very objective. I will not go about saying, I did so much for you, the starting point for all kinds of trouble. Freedom from being a wanting person. What I want, Artha and Kama reveals that I am an insecure and unhappy person from two different points of view. What do I really want? Do I want the actual Artha and Kama, the objects themselves, or do I want security and happiness? Because I want security and happiness, all Arthas and Kamas are reduced to security and happiness alone. If I am insecure, I naturally seek security, and if I am unhappy, I seek happiness. However, it is not the security itself that I want. This is to be understood clearly. If I am unhappy, what do you seek? I seek happiness. How do you know happiness is an object? Are you aware of that? If you are not aware of that, like that Gagabugan Swamiji mentioned, what are you seeking? That object which you do not know at all, like Gagabugan, how can you seek happiness? So if you are seeking happiness, you must have had a scent of it earlier. You must have had a taste of it earlier. Only then it becomes an object. Whether you are fully aware of that or not, no matter. You have some trace of that knowledge. And that object you can desire only after knowing it. I seek happiness. However, it's not the security itself that I want. What I really want is freedom from insecurity. In terms of security, I am wanting. I am wanting. In terms of fullness and happiness also, I am wanting. Therefore, I want freedom from being a wanting person. And in order to be free from being a wanting person, I have to see myself as secure. I have to see myself as one who does not lack anything. And I can see myself in this way alone when I have no sense of lack. If I am insecure and unhappy, and I see myself as secure and happy because of some kind of self-hypnotism, for instance, then I am under yet another delusion. Enough of delusions already. We are swimming in. This hypnotism will be another delusion. Sometimes you may not be able to get out of it. It is better to be insecure than to be deluded into thinking that I am secure. If I know I am insecure, then at least I can be objective and thereby understand my problems and make an effort to eliminate them. Thus, one has to be secure in order to see oneself as secure. To be able to say, I am happy, one has to be happy to understand the happiness we talk about. I can therefore see myself as secure and happy, either by becoming so or by already being so. That is the important thing. Already being so. I am using two different words here, becoming and being for a reason. Hey, where is that? Becoming and being secure.
Yeah. Let me.
Here, becoming being for a reason. I got it. We generally see ourselves as insecure and unhappy, and then try to become secure and happy. The whole process of living, the struggles in our lives are all a process of becoming, being insecure. We seek to become secure. In the final analysis, people are all after the same thing. One may seek this and that, but over the shoulders of seemingly different ends, we see two common ends, being secure and being happy. My hope is that one day I will become secure, that one day I will become happy. Therefore, even when we are seeking artha and kama, we are all seeking freedom from being insecure and unhappy. This must be clearly understood. Moksha as the end in life. Given that everyone wants freedom from being a wanting person, everyone wants moksha. When it is put in this way, it looks as though moksha is just another end. In fact, it is not another end. It is the end behind all ends. We refer to yat gatva nanivartante tadhama paramam. That is the moksha. We refer to moksha as another end, another purushartha, only because people do not recognize it as the only end, even though they seek freedom from insecurity. Recognizing this end is the culmination of one's life, the end of samsara, insecurities, and unhappiness. The culmination of one's life is not aging. It is the ability to discern yourself as one who is secure and happy. This discerning is part of growing up. Once the fact that you are secure and happy has been discerned, even though you may continue in your various artha and kama pursuits, you have taken the necessary step for moksha. However small the step may be, the step has been made. Having stepped into this teaching, the necessary step has already been taken. You should not be alarmed by the word moksha. You need not worry about what will happen to your family if you study and become enlightened. Believe me, your family will be happy because they will no longer have to deal with your insecurities and unhappinesses. As also by trying to gain enlightenment, the pressure you are feeling will definitely be less because you now have something better to accomplish in life. Otherwise, life is a problem. Marriage, for example, cannot be an end in itself. If it is, there will be problems and the marriage will end. Marriage is a means, not an end, whereby husband and wife each seek freedom from insecurity. Freedom from insecurity is their common end, and they help each other in that domain. Together, as companions, they make the journey. This most significant aspect of marriage is acknowledged in the 7 steps of Hindu marriage ceremony, Saptapadi. Only when these 7 steps have been taken has the marriage taken place. Each of the 7 steps represents one aspect of the couple's journey, for which there is a destination, moksha. Discerning moksha as the end in life and seeking it make one's life meaningful. They do not prevent a person from seeking artha and kama. In fact, without them, life is just a rat race. One should always remember that the truth of the rat race is that even after the race, the winning rat continues to be a rat. The vision is now clear. Freedom is seeing myself as a secure and happy person, free from being insecure and unhappy. The whole struggle in life stems only from insecurity and unhappiness. One thinks that by adding some security, one will become secure. In this way, life is one of becoming, and in the process, one becomes hurt, aged, and has all kinds of things happen to him or her. If the fundamental problem is not discerned, one's life is wasted. All that is achieved is that one human life has been spent. The good thing about all of this is that the Veda says you always have another chance and another and another. While this may provide some satisfaction, it is not a solution to the fundamental problem. Now, if there is no becoming free, and I have to be free, then I must already be free. Moreover, if I am already free and I seek freedom, then I am seeking something that I already am. That's what I was saying. You can't be seeking happiness unless you have had a taste of it earlier. I know that I want freedom, but I do not know that I am free. Therefore, not knowing I am already free is my problem. If there is ignorance of oneself, in order to know oneself, there should be a means of knowledge. And it is a fact that what can be known by one means of knowledge cannot be known by another means of knowledge. For example, what can be known by the eyes in terms of color and form cannot be known by the ears in terms of sound. Similarly, what can be inferred can only be inferred at a given time and space. Okay? Time and place. The basic means of knowledge is available to me for knowing things other than myself, that is perception. But the self, myself, cannot be an object of perception like sound, shabda, touch, sparsha, a form or color, rupa, or taste, rasa, or smell, gandha. Only all these things are objects. Objects are the indriyas. Only those objects which have the attributes of sound, form, or color, smell, taste, etc., and touch can be known as objects of my senses, whereas the self is the one who uses this means of knowledge, perception. Therefore, I cannot employ perception as a means of knowledge to know myself, because I'm not the object of my endeavor. I'm the very subject of my endeavor. One's perception can be enhanced by microscopes, telescopes, and various other instruments, thereby gathering better data and increasing one's capacity to make more accurate inferences based on perception. These better data definitely question one's previous understanding. For instance, because you see the sun rising in the eastern sky and setting in the west, you conclude from your perceptual data that the sun rises and sets, and the earth is stationary. However, seeing the sun move does not mean that it moves. The sun can appear to be moving, but if you go to the North Pole, you will see that the sun does not move from east to west. You now have better data, because of which you revise your earlier conclusion. This new conclusion then becomes the basis for additional data and inferences. Similarly, if you put a stick in a glass of water, the stick looks bent. You may think that the water has the capacity to bend the stick, but when you pull it out, you see that it is not bent. Your conclusion or knowledge now is that it does not bend, that it only appears to be bent, while in the glass of water, perception is negated by conclusive knowledge. This is where the yukti comes, that the stick appears to be bent when it is not, is now understood as an optical illusion. Conclusions based on better data are all valid, and all conclusions are arrived at through a means of knowledge, pramana, inference in this case. The question now becomes, can the self, myself, who uses inference and perception, become an object for either of these means of knowledge? It cannot, and yet at the same time, I must know myself. How? What means of knowledge is there for knowing myself? I do know that I exist, and to know this, I do not require a means of knowledge, as we shall see more clearly later. All I need to know is what I am. Am I, as I conclude, am I insecure? What are the reasons for concluding that I am insecure? We will also see all of this more in detail later. But for now, it is enough to know that ignorance is the main reason that I see myself as insecure. Ignorance is the main reason for any error. But here, the error is typical, and wherever an error is typical, there are other incidental reasons that makes it so. The typical means it is not related to just only you. It is kind of universal. Suppose you mistake a rope for some other object. What kind of a mistake do you make? You do not take the rope to be an elephant. Such a mistake is not possible. But you could take the rope to be a snake or any other number of other similar looking objects. You cannot, however, mistake it for something totally dissimilar. Similarly, there is self-ignorance leading to certain typical conclusions on the part of every being, that I am insecure, unhappy, and so on. There are thus incidental causes for such conclusions, as well as the prime cause, ignorance, which we are dealing with here. Knowledge alone can dispel ignorance, and knowledge cannot take place without a means of knowledge. Jnanat evatu kaivalyam, pramanat evatu jnanam. That pramana is the Shastra Vakya. Even knowledge that is picked up accidentally, like the knowledge of penicillin, for example. Knowledge picked up accidentally does not preclude a means of knowledge. In fact, there was a great deal of knowledge leading to the accidental discovery of penicillin, the greatest discovery of the century, last century, okay? I would say, since it has revolutionized the quality of human life. Infections that were once fatal succumbed to this wonder drug, and certain innovative surgeries, such as heart transplants, can now be performed thanks to Alexander Fleming, who stumbled upon the particular knowledge. Though it was an accident, his a priori knowledge of the, the scientific endeavor that he has already put in, which has yielded a lot of knowledge in his brain, that was helpful. Even analyzing the accidental discovery. Otherwise, it may be treated as, this is garbage, throw it away. Same thing happened regarding discovery of X-rays also. Röntgen discovered X-rays. That was an accident. He was doing some cathode ray tube, experimentation, and this is what happened. Some plates, which are silver coated and things like that, they got eroded, and he knew this is something that was an accident, but it required a mind, a discerning mind, with an a priori knowledge of what all he has gathered, to give some meaning to the accident. Stumbling upon serendipity is also a means of knowledge. If the scientist who discovered penicillin had not been qualified, he would not have had the knowledge to question why the strain of bacterium he was culturing had been destroyed by a particular fungus. When he found the bacteria dead, he would have just said, they died, better luck next time. Instead, he had the capacity to look into the whole situation, and using the proper means of knowledge, experiments and so on, he concluded that this particular fungus destroys bacteria. Knowledge itself is never stumbled upon. All that is stumbled upon is a particular situation leading to the knowledge. For knowledge to take place, you have to recognize the situation, and this recognition is what is meant by knowledge. But the self can never be stumbled upon, even if you remove all your thoughts, as some people maintain. Which self will you stumble upon? Some people say you have to silence your mind totally. Silence your mind. Hey, manasa eva idam aptavyam. That is the Upanishad Vakyam. Manasa eva, with the mind alone. Idam aptavyam. This is to be known. Aptavyam means this is to be known. And when you silence the mind, what is with your nose you can't know. With none of your other sense organs you can know. Manasayevendriyam aptavyam nehana nasti kinchana. That same, some people see, these are the different schools of thought. The greatness of the Sanatana Dharma is it has respected all schools of thought, even though defective, and analyzed all the schools of thought and made a conclusion that this is the way for you. And that must be accepted. But the self can never be stumbled upon, even if you remove all your thoughts, as some people maintain. Which self will you stumble upon? Who is it that is stumbling? And what is it that is being stumbled upon? And who will know that after you have stumbled upon? If you are ignorant of yourself and remove all the thoughts you previously had, what will you be? You will still be ignorant, without thoughts. Then if you conclude that you are enlightened because you have removed all the thoughts, the conclusion will be a thoughtless conclusion. It will be an ignorant conclusion. Thoughts need not be eliminated. This you must know.
Shall I read from now, Nana?
Let me go through this para. Afterwards, you take over. Okay?
Okay.
This you must know. The enlightened mind is not brought about by elimination of thoughts. Knowledge always comes because of an appropriate means of knowledge. There is no way of altering knowledge, and there is no replacement for a means of knowledge. Therefore, what can be known by a given means of knowledge can be known only by that means of knowledge. There is no accommodation here. If you have to see a color, what accommodation can there be? Only the eyes will see color. Your nose certainly will not. There is no other means for knowing color except the eyes. Because I cannot stumble upon myself, will I not remain ignorant in spite of anything that I might do? And if so, might one not also ask, is it not enough just to be a devotee? Why should I study all these books? Why should I have this knowledge? As a devotee, will I not gain moksha when I die? Yeah, roll it up, please. You may think that because of your devotion, you will go to heaven and sit with God. However, you will still be ignorant. In addition, how long will it be before you become bored there and want to come back? On the other hand, the reward for all your prayers, offered either in this life or in previous lives, is stumbling upon the means of knowledge for knowing the Atma or even understanding what a means of knowledge is. This is all stated in the Vedas. What is the means of knowledge to know the self? Then we have seen that it has to be other than perception and inference, and therefore can only be external means, words. It cannot be the means that I have, that I am born with. It must be some external means, which are words. For facts that I cannot know by perception and inference, words, Shabda, can be a means of knowledge. And those words are called Veda. They are with us, meaning that they are with humanity. We refer to them as revealed and look upon them as a means of knowledge for truths that can be neither inferred nor perceived. This acceptance of the Veda as a pramana is what is meant by Shraddha. Yeah, take over, Brahmara.
The Veda as a means of knowledge. Suppose I were to say, the Veda says that there is such a thing as heaven. Can you prove it? Can you disprove it? If it can be proven, it is not knowledge exclusive to the Veda. Since we cannot prove or disprove it, the Veda is the pramana for knowing about heaven. Anything that cannot be proved or disproved is the sphere of the Veda and is its definition as well. That there is a heaven, that there is an afterlife, that there is not an end of everything and everyone cannot be proved. Nor can you prove that for all your actions, right and wrong, there are invisible results accrued to your account called punya and papa. The Veda says that punya is the result of good action and papa is the result of wrong action. The Veda also says, along with some supporting logic, that papa accrued to our account has to be paid for with pain. This is called the law of karma. Can you disprove such statements? Can you prove them? You can neither prove them nor can you disprove them. There are a number of other things mentioned in the Veda. For instance, we are told that by performing a certain ritual, we will receive a specific result, either immediately or later. Suppose you perform a ritual for the sake of having a child called Putra Kameshti. You have made every effort possible and the best medical advice available has assured you that there is no reason for you not to have a child. But then something is denying you this particular gift. Since you are dealing with an unknown factor and you want a specific result, you perform a specific prayer, not a broad spectrum prayer. This specific prayer takes care of the unknown factor that is denying you the gift of a child, and a child comes to you. All of this is stated in the Veda. Because this ritual and its result is given by the Veda, you accept it, along with all the other statements made therein. The spheres covered in the Veda are only those that are not available for perception and inference. So the Veda tells us only the Adrishta Phala. It doesn't tell you what is known by you.
Very, very right. Incidentally, this Putraka Meshti, we know, was performed in the Ramayana by King Dasharatha. You know his age at the time when he has done the Putraka Meshti? Can you guess?
Desire for Putra.
Pardon? Pardon?
Desire for Putra.
No, his age at the time when he has done the Putraka Meshti Yaga.
80 years, maybe 80.
75 plus.
You are far away from reality. I believe in the Kruta Yuga and Treta Yuga, people used to live for a long number of centuries. People say Dasharatha's age at that time was 60,000 years.
Oh my gosh.
When he has done the Putraka Meshti Yaga. Because I tell you, 60,000 years is, you equate it to some 40 years of yours. Supposing I'm aged 40, I have not yet got a child. I still have the notion, but I am not spent. I still have some, age ahead of me. I may still get a child. And when I am some 60 or so, then I realize, then start doing the Putraka Meshti Yaga. If I have done it at 60, Dasharatha has done it 60,000. He is ahead of me because of the Yuga Dharma by 1,000 times. Putraka Meshti. And Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna were born. And all these brothers, they were separated by what age, you know? Rama was older to Bharata by 1 day. Bharata was older to the twins, Lakshmana and Shatrughna, by just 1 day. The first child for Dasharatha was Rama. Second was through Kaikeyi, Bharata. The third was through Sumitra, the Lakshmana and Shatrughna. Lakshmana and Shatrughna. Okay.
I thought Bharata was the last one, was the youngest.
No, he's the second one.
He's the second one.
That is why it is said in several sutras, Ramam Lakshmana Purvajam Bharatagrajam. Lakshmana Purvajam Bharatagrajam. That is, he is earlier to Lakshmana and he is older to Bharata. Bharatagrajam. Agrajam means the one who was born earlier than Bharata. Yeah, go forward.
The spheres covered in the Veda are only those that are not available for perception and inference. The first portion of the Veda deals with various rituals, prayers, karma, punya, papa, and so on, and is called the Purva Bhaga or the Karma Kanda. The end portion of the Veda deals with certain facts about the nature of the self that cannot be stumbled upon by any other means of knowledge at our disposal. This is called the Jnana Kanda or the Vedanta or the Uttara Bhaga. When we say that something is beyond one's inference or perception, we do not mean that it is beyond the mind. We mean that it is not available for one's inference or perception. Still, it has to be known, and any knowledge takes place only in the mind. Therefore, where does self-knowledge take place? Only in the mind. Manasa eva anudrashtavyam. Because all knowledge has to take place in the mind, you cannot go beyond the mind to gain self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is a peculiar knowledge in that it is not knowledge of an object, It is knowledge of myself, for which the means of knowledge is the last portion of the Veda in the Upanishads, collectively called Vedanta. Any statement that reveals the truth of oneself, the nature of oneself, with all fallacies removed, is Vedanta, whether it is in Sanskrit, some tribal dialect, or any other language. Although the literal meaning of the word Vedanta is the end of the Veda, the word Veda itself means a body of knowledge. This body of knowledge is available for the humanity. All that one has to do is make use of it. Revealed knowledge, Apaurusheya Pramana. How has this knowledge come about? We can say that it has come about by revelation, but to do so requires a certain understanding of the word revelation. Anyone can say, I had a revelation yesterday. God always comes in dreams, it seems, and tells certain people all sorts of things. I can also say I had a dream in which God came, but in my dream, God said, I never come in dreams. The statement that the entire Veda and hence Vedanta is a revealed knowledge is not an immature statement, as we will come to understand. The entire Veda is a body of knowledge that was not authored by any person. It was revealed to the rishis directly. That is why the rishis are not the authors of the Vedas, of the Veda. They are the seers of the mantras, mantra drashtraha,
Mantra drashtaraha.
mantra drashtaraha, and not mantra kartaraha.
Correct.
Therefore, the Vedas are considered to be apaurusheya, not born of human intellect. They are considered to be a pramana because they reveal something that is not available to us through perception or inference, be it the knowledge of various ends and means in the Karma Kanda or the knowledge of the self in the end portion of the Vedas. Thus, my definition of Vedanta is that it is a means of knowledge, a pramana in the form of words. The sphere of this means of knowledge is you. It talks about you. You now have a means of knowledge which you did not have before. Originally, you had only inference and perception, which you cannot press into service to know yourself. Naturally, then, you look for an appropriate means of knowledge and find that there is none available to you other than the one that is outside of you. An appropriate means of knowledge must tell you something valid about yourself. In other words, it cannot be fallacious. When something is said about you, it can either be true or untrue, something that is subject to personal validation. The word revelation here has to be understood in terms of an appropriate means of knowledge. The first step towards self-knowledge then is accepting Vedanta as a revealed means of knowledge. How do we know that Vedanta is a means of knowledge? What is the proof? Is there a proof for a means of knowledge? If Vedanta is a means of knowledge for the self, it requires neither inferential nor perceptual proof. All that is required is that it should not contradict what you know inferentially or perceptually. How do you prove that Vedanta is a pramana? Vedanta cannot be disproved as a means of knowledge, and it requires no proof other than self-validation. Let us suppose that a man who was born blind undergoes a new surgical procedure at the age of 35 that will enable him to see. The surgery is considered to be a success. There are no complications, and the doctors are convinced that the man will see. After removing the bandages, the doctor says, "Please open your eyes." But keeping his eyes closed tightly, the man says, "Doctor, I will only open my eyes When you prove that I can see. What can the doctor do now? He is being asked to prove that the man's eyes are a means of knowledge, that they are capable of sight. But how can he do that? He can only say, I think you will be able to see. The surgery went well, very well, and there is no reason why your eyes should not see. Even if the doctor forces the man's eyes open, the only proof that he will be able to see is the sight registered by the eyes themselves. Vedanta says that you are the solution to your problem and that there is no other solution. You have already tried to resolve the problem in a number of different ways. Vedanta does not promise anything. It does not say you will become the solution. It says you are the solution. To become the solution implies a certain commitment and investment, meaning that you may find it or you may not, since every becoming is fraught with uncertainty. In the Vedic vision of the reality, everything that is known and unknown is Brahman, and that Brahman you are, Tat Tvam Asi. Gaining this vision, one finds oneself free from all the limitations imposed upon oneself due to ignorance and error. Two committed lifestyles. Nana, here, can I just pause and ask you a question?
Yeah.
The very fact that we all are seeking knowledge or seeking moksha is that we've once had a taste of it.
Yeah.
But that we have forgotten.
Yes.
But then, doesn't the Gita, doesn't the Vedanta says, once you have yad gatva nanivartante, tad dhama paramam mama. So once you have known it, how is it that we are slipping back again to ignorance?
Once you have known it means what? Because you are Atma Swarupa, and Atma is intrinsically happy all the time and intrinsically very secure all the time. The insecurity and unhappiness are not its attributes. Its Swarupa is secure, happy all the time. And it is the one thing that is Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. Satyam, that is eternally there. Satyam, that is a Sadvastu. Shivam, Mangalam. Shivam means auspicious. And what is that auspicious nature? That is Jnanam Eva. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Sundaram. Sundaram, beautiful. So it is kind of known to you, but not known to you. And who is ignorant? The very Atma. Atma is as though ignorant. See the fun. It is not Atma that is ignorant. Because of the superimpositions introduced by Maya, Atma as though has become Jiva, and the Jiva is ignorant. And the Jiva has some kind of ascent of his previous nature. That is why he is seeking that again.
Good.
See, there is a in what movie I don't know. There are some movies in which wonderful songs have been, but these days movies, my God, you do not know in what language the song is going to be played. Let it be Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam, Hindi, whatever. The words go so very fast, and this Ladlapa music will keep on, enveloping the words of that language so badly that you do not know what language the song is going. in olden times, the songs were really good. There is one movie in Telugu, I forgot the name of the movie, that says, Veda Shastramulu Telisina Vare, Yerugaru Srushti Vilasam. Veda Shastramulu Telisina Vare, that is, people who are absolute knowers of the Veda Shastra, even there they are deluded regarding the Srushti. Srushti Vilasam. How did this creation come about? Bratukanta palu prashnalamayamai bratukunu jana samudayam. The entire life, all the components of humanity, be it American, be it European, be it Indian, Chinese, Russian, whatever. Okay, Bratukanta Palu Prashnalamayamai. The entire life is full of a lot of questions. Bratukunu Jana Samudayam. That is, people keep on spending their life. Badulu kosame vedakutamani bratukutaye nyayam. Without seeking answers for your ignorance-generated questions, is it not better to be happy within yourself by yourself? Is it not nyayam? Is it not proper for you? This is in one movie, one Telugu movie, I forgot that. We'll keep on having questions, but the questioner, does the questioner ever stop thinking? Why is that question coming up? Is that question generated by knowledge, or is the question born out of ignorance? What is ignorance? We do not question what is ignorance. We don't question at all. We keep on posing questions born out of ignorance all the time, without ever pausing to know what ignorance is. Bratukanta palu prashnalamayamai bratukunu jana samudayam. Badulu kosame vedakutamani bratukutaye nyayam. That's the beauty. That is the beauty of life. Don't seek answers to your ignorance-born questions. You learn to be happy by yourself, with yourself. Forward.
Okay. Two committed lifestyles.
Are you there?
Huh?
Are you there? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your question, is it answered?
No, not answered. I'm just wondering at that question. I'm wondering at the answer, and yeah, I think I will just, maybe some questions have to just be wondered at.
Yeah, okay.
Silence is the answer.
Yeah. True. Go forward, ma'am.
Yeah. Two committed lifestyles.
Shall I take over?
No, I'll continue. To gain this vision, the Veda prescribes two committed lifestyles. One is a life of activity, pravritti marga, and the other a life of renunciation of activity, nivritti marga. Shankara introduces his Bhashya to the Bhagavad Gita with the exposition of this twofold dharma as it is revealed by the Veda. Here, dharma can be understood as a religious or as a spiritual pursuit. The Veda talks about action or activity, karma, meaning not only religious activities, but also those that we consider as secular. All activities, whether religious or secular, are considered to be dharma and thereby become duties. This is what is meant by the lifestyle of pravritti. Whereas the lifestyle of nivritti is called renunciation, sannyasa. The lifestyle of pravritti is twofold. a pravritti for achieving security and pleasures here and in the hereafter, and a pravritti for the purpose of one's own maturity, for the purification of oneself, antakarana shuddhi, as we shall see later. The same acts of prayers and other religious activities are done for both purposes. There are therefore two types of people who follow the pravritti marga. Both the types follow the Veda, but one group does so for the purpose of gaining immediate pleasures and securities. This group also follows the Veda for the unseen results of good deeds to be converted into better forms of security or pleasure later, either here or in the hereafter. The second group of people follow the Veda and engage in various actions for the sake of antakarana shuddhi, with moksha as their end in view. People belonging to both these groups accept the Veda as a means of knowledge, pramana, and are called Vaidikas. And because they are Vaidikas, they are referred to as believers, Astikas. Believer and non-believer. In English, we use the words atheist and theist purely with reference to whether or not a person believes in God. It is not so in Vaidika Dharma. Here, one may believe in the Veda and not believe in a personal God at all. Such a person interprets the Veda in such a way that there is no such Ishvara, no creator at all. Thus, there can be a Vaidika, one who accepts the Veda as a pramana, who is an Astika, a believer, who believes in the Veda but does not believe in God as a person.
Kapila Maharshi belongs to that cadre.
The Sankhya philosophy.
Correct.
Right. He only talks of Prakriti and Purusha, that's it.
Correct.
For us then, Astika means someone who believes in the Veda as a pramana, and Nastika is one who does not. Given this definition, there are many Nastikas, people who do not accept the Veda as a pramana and who are religious. For instance, a follower of Buddha, although a Nastika, should not be dismissed as irreligious. Such people are religious in their own way. However, in our view, a Buddhist is a Nastika based on our definition of Astika and Nastika. Similarly, a person who follows Mahavira, a Jain, is also a Nastika. The Sankhya philosopher Kapila and his followers, on the other hand, are Astikas, Vaidikas. They accept the Veda as a pramana, but they do not accept Ishvara. One who follows the Vedic rituals but who does not accept an Ishvara is also an Astika. Although Buddhists and Jains are Nastikas, they both believe in karma. They believe that there is an afterlife and that there is such a thing as nirvana, liberation, or moksha, which is gained after a number of births. That is their belief, and they have their own arguments to support it. When moksha is the end in view, the two committed lifestyles, pravritti marga and nivritti marga, must be properly understood. They are stated very clearly in the Vedas and are again presented in the Gita as well as by Shankara in his opening commentary. Allowing the means of knowledge to work. If I am the solution, I have no reason either to deny what Vedanta says or to prove that it is correct. Just as in our earlier example, the man had to open his eyes to prove that he could see, so too, the only proof that Vedanta is a means of knowledge is in allowing it to work. I should let the words do their magic on me. Words refers to a certain knowledge born of the words. Words are not just words. They can reveal and thereby remove any ignorance, remove my ignorance. The words need not always give rise to indirect knowledge. They can also give direct knowledge. When the Veda talks about heaven, the knowledge is definitely indirect. In fact, it is a belief. there is a description giving you some indirect knowledge about heaven, if indeed there is one. Every tradition has its own description of heaven, and we understand it from that description. The Veda then reveals the self by saying that it is beyond words, and at the same time uses words to make you see the truth of yourself. Therefore, the self is not beyond words in the usual sense of the term. It is something entirely different, highly technical, as we will see, and may take some time to understand. When words are about an object away from myself, the knowledge is indirect, and when they are about an object around myself, the knowledge is direct. Suppose I hold up an orange. You know it is a fruit, but suppose you do not know what kind of fruit it is. Then I tell you it is an orange. You now know that it is an orange. Then you want to know how it tastes, and I tell you how it tastes. That is not enough. You have to taste it actually. You also have to taste some other oranges as well. Only then you come to know more or less all about an orange. When you smell an orange, peel it and eat it, not knowing that it is an orange, and I say, this is an orange, the knowledge is direct knowledge, immediate knowledge. Now I ask, do you exist or not? I exist. I am, you say. Then I ask, who are you? To this question, there are many answers, all of which reveal I am insecure. However, I say, you are secure. This is not just a statement. I have a whole methodology of teaching. I take you through all the steps logically, and then I say, therefore, you are secure. Is this knowledge immediate, direct, or mediate, indirect? It is immediate, direct knowledge. Vedanta is therefore a pramana, a means of knowledge, and you have no other way to proceed except to expose yourself to it, taking it as a means of knowledge. You need to understand exactly what Vedanta is saying. And if you do not understand, if you have questions, then you should make an effort to understand.
Here is where our Gita Adhyanam takes the cake, day in and day out, without any hindrance. One must continue studying the Gita, chanting the Gita slokas. What pleases Kittappa? The Kittappa in you, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam, is your chanting the Gita Vakyas daily, without any let-up, without any hindrance, without any pause, and with absolute fidelity. No error in chanting at all. These are the Veda mantras, these are the Upanishad Vakyas, and those should not be distorted when you are chanting. You must make sure that you chant nicely, and that is a wonderful blessing. Those are the words which will reveal who you indeed are. Yeah.
If what Vedanta says is untenable,
That is Nana, that is mantra Shakti.
It is not the Shakti as it is. It is its power to reveal what we are.
Okay.
It is the power. It is the power behind the words which will reveal what we indeed are. If you call that as mantra Shakti, that is different. These are all scriptural utterances. Okay? Yomad Bhakta Same Priyaha. That is a scriptural utterance. It's a Mahavakya. Whoever is there, that kind of a Bhakta, he is indeed very dear to me. He is indeed very dear to me means what? He is indeed I. There's no difference between him and I. Jivo Brahme Vanaparaha. That is a Mahavakya. Those are the revelations through all those words. More than mantra, they will compel you into knowing the essence of the words.
So basically,
Like
it is the
opening of an eye.
happening.
Sorry.
Pardon, sir?
Like opening of an eye after the operation. That.
Yes, yes. Yes.
That's it.
Opening of the eyes, correct. And for us to open the eyes, we must open the eyes and read the Gita. Every day, at least one chapter to start with. And slowly, surely, it will be 2 chapters. Later on, 3 chapters. Later on, 6. Later on, the full text. And you will really richly benefit from that. And as you are reading, sometimes you will assume you are Arjuna, listening to Kitaya. And as you progress, you know what happens? You, as you keep on chanting, you will assume the role of Kitaya. And Arjuna is your listener as you are chanting. Whoever is in front of you becomes Arjuna. And you, the Kitaya, is uttering his own words. Is it not a beauty? And when you assume the role of Kitaya, you must know what he is talking also. So that means you have graduated to a very high level, that what you are saying, you understand what you are saying.
Yeah.
Really. And that will be one of being that. It's not one of becoming, it is one of being.
Realizing.
Yeah. Forward march.
So basically, as we keep chanting, it is you're generating the vritti jnana in your.
Yes.
And that
yes.
vritti jnana, as you keep on, like the Brahmarakita jnana.
Correct.
This one nyaya. So it goes on in your mind. So basically, you're refining your thought process, that Atma Shuddhi happens.
Yeah.
Antakarana Shuddhi happens.
Correct. Akhanda Brahmakara Vritti, it is said. Akhanda, it is partless. There are no parts in it. Akhanda Brahmakara Vritti. That will be generated. And that will be a tremendous blessing. Onward march, madam.
If what Vedanta says is untenable, I should see how untenable it is and examine the untenability. Perhaps it is my understanding that it is untenable and what is said is tenable. If that is the case, then I correct my understanding and keep on correcting it, thereby seeing what Vedanta has to say. The Gita is a means of knowledge. So basically what he's saying is that we need to have that Shraddha, that the Vedanta is the Pramana. And with that Shraddha, you go forward in trying to understand what the Vedanta is saying.
Just now there is a question from Dr. Renuji. She said, is chanting the Gita more important than pujas and mantras? Certainly. If that's your question, undoubtedly. Towards the end of the 18th chapter, Kitaya himself has said that. Jnana yajnena, he mentioned that. Right. Whoever studies the Gita, whoever discusses the contents of the Gita, whoever teaches the Gita, he is indulging in jnana yajna. Undoubtedly, this is the one to be preferred to doing your pujas, rituals, and mantras and japas. There is no doubt at all whatsoever. Onward.
The Gita is a means of knowledge. The Gita, of course, is not as voluminous as the Vedas, which contain all the Upanishads. The Upanishads are the original source book which is understood with the help of books like the Gita. Since these books present the same material very cogently in an easily understood form. This is why the Gita is referred to as the Gita Shastra. There are 700 verses in the Gita, contained in 18 chapters. The first chapter and the initial few verses of the second chapter providing the context. We have then the entire Gita Shastra in 17 chapters, wherein the twofold dharma of a committed lifestyle for moksha is unfolded. Because the Gita is a book, grantha, that unfolds this dharma, it is looked upon as a pramana grantha. Even though the Upanishads are the pramana, not being born of a given intellect. The Upanishads, meaning the Vedas, form the means of knowledge, but the Gita is also looked upon as a pramana because it upholds and unfolds what the Veda, Shruti says. If the Gita said anything not in keeping with the Shruti, it would definitely not be considered a pramana grantha. The Gita would not be studied, nor would Shankara have written a commentary on it. The Gita is accepted as pramana grantha because of its affinity and fidelity to the Veda. Lord Krishna himself confirms in the Gita that what he is saying has already been said in the Veda. Furthermore, the Gita is presented by Vyasa, who is considered to be the editor of the Vedas. The four Vedas, collectively referred to as the Veda, existed even before Vyasa. He was the one who grouped them properly so that a designated person in a given family could study one particular Veda and then hand it over to each succeeding generation. Because Vyasa knew the Vedas so well, he was considered to be all-knowing, Sarvajna. In the middle of the vast, beautiful word tapestry of his epic Mahabharata, Vyasa presented the wisdom of the Vedas in the form of the Gita. It shines in the midst of the much larger work like a pendant jewel. These 18 chapters are therefore considered to be an authentic pramana. The first argument for the Gita being a pramana then is that it does not contradict what the Veda says. It expounds and illustrates what the source book says. The second argument is that it is presented by Vyasa. Thirdly, Vyasa presents Krishna as an avatar of the Lord. Therefore, Krishna is looked upon as an avatara, a particular form the Lord is assumed for achieving certain limited ends. If the concept of avatara is accepted, Krishna as an avatara is Lord Narayana, Ishvara himself. Therefore, when Krishna talks in the Gita, Ishvara, the Lord, is talking. What is said is the word of Bhagavan, Bhagavad Vachana. And Bhagavan is telling us what the Veda says. This again makes the Gita a pramana grantha for the believers. When Bhagavan himself is talking about what is said in the Vedas, what else do we want? Because the Gita is Bhagavad Vachana, the words of Bhagavan, it is a pramana. The meaning of Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the one who has Bhaga, the sixfold virtues in absolute measure. These are all knowledge, jnana, total dispassion, vairagya, the capacity to create, sustain and resolve, virya, absolute fame, yashas, all wealth, Shri, and overlordship, Aishwarya. Bhagaha asya asti iti Bhagavan. The one who has Bhaga is called Bhagavan. It is said in the Vishnu Purana, Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashasaha shriyaha jnana vairagya yoshchaiva shannam bhaga itirana. Total and absolute overlordship, power, wealth, dispassion, fame, and knowledge are known as Bhaga. To have all knowledge, jnana, is to be free from all ignorance. Thus, the one who has all jnana does not require a mind, perception, or a means of knowledge with which to know. If we require a mind to know, there is always ignorance. Thus, whoever is endowed with a mind in order to know cannot be Bhagavan. We will see later how it is possible to be one with Bhagavan. Bhaga, therefore, is jnana, all knowledge. Total absolute dispassion is also called Bhaga. The one who has total absolute dispassion, vairagya, has no longing, no insecurity. He or she is full. Virya is absolute power or shakti, meaning capacity to create, to sustain, and to resolve. The one who has this absolute power is called the Almighty. Absolute fame, yasha, means all fame, including your own or anyone else's. This is also Bhaga. One who is endowed with the ability to sing, for example, may gain some fame, a ray of glory, but that fame belongs to the Lord, the one who has all fame. The Lord also has all wealth, all resources, Shri. Any wealth that you may have, any wealth you have, really belongs to Bhagavan, the Lord, and you are only a trustee of whatever resources you happen to have. Finally, the one who is not caused, who is not ruled by anyone, who is not subject to the laws of someone else, has the Bhaga called Aishwarya, overlordship. We as individuals have to go by the laws of nature. We cannot go against them. Even an engineer who is responsible for planning, commissioning, and running a thermal plant cannot touch a live wire without facing the consequences. In other words, the engineer cannot behave as he or she likes merely because he or she caused the electricity to be generated. It was because of the laws alone that the engineer was able to generate electricity in the first place. The one who does not subject himself to the law or laws of another is the Lord. If the Lord is ruled by someone else, then that someone else becomes the Lord. And it is this Lord that we are talking about. These 6 absolute virtues then constitute Bhaga. And the one who has the 6-fold Bhaga is Bhagavan. Bhagavad Gita, the Lord's song. Should I continue? There are a variety of Gitas, the Anugita, Uttara Gita, Kama Gita, Pandava Gita, Hamsa Gita, Siddha Gita, Rama Gita, Uddhava Gita, Ganesha Gita, etc. But the most popular one is the
Hari
Bhagavad.
Om. 8:32.
Yes, Nana.
I think we'll continue tomorrow from here.
Fine.
What is it? The page number you kindly note down?
25.
25, okay. We have done the same number of pages, kind of.
Yeah.
All right. Bhagavad Gita, the Lord's song. Right. That's where we have to start. Right. Om Sadve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sadve Santu Niramayaha Sadve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om, everybody.
Hari Om, Dhanyavad Nanaji.
Hari Om, Dhanyavad.
Hari Om. Thank you, Nana.
Hari Om, thank you so much. Bye.
Hari Om.